All right, how's it going, everybody? It is the Osmo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. We have a big 11-game slate to talk about for tonight. We will review last night, as always. We will talk about Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, some other free giveaways, and all the normal stuff. Nolan is at FSGA with some of the other guys at the site, so he's obviously not here, as you can see. So it'll just be me going through this. As always, feel free to drop anything in chat, whether it's Premium Slack or YouTube chat. If I forget stuff, I'm sure I will forget to mention some things. I'll talk about my exposures. If the slate started right now, although I kind of feel I'd be pretty okay with the slate starting right now, to be honest. I don't think there's going to be a ton of late news. There usually isn't for NHL anyways, but I think it's a good slate, and ownership projections were, for the most part, I feel like I'm in tune with our ownership projections. There's a couple spots that I disagree with in that I don't think our projections are wrong. I think that I'm just going to be a lot different than the field. On these bigger slates, I like to play lines that are going to be low owned and maybe average to below average spots. And you don't have to play a lot of them because a lot of players will just disregard them. So underdog money lines for tonight, I don't know. We're going to hopefully be implementing some more betting content, maybe on this show, or we'll have other shows with betting stuff, but I'm not a big just like money line better or anything like that. Hannah Ann in cash, of course. Hannah Ann in cash. Yeah, I mean, of course. Hannah Ann, Madison, those are probably your two cash locks, I would say. At this point, if you know what I'm talking about, you should probably be a little bit embarrassed. If you don't worry. Just more sports stuff. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports is up on the screen right here. This is their contest lobby. Yahoo is the presenting sponsor of the NHL DFS Strategy Show. They have lower management fees. They have a lot less experienced players over here, and so it is better for your long-term ROI if you're interested in grinding out a profit or just learning the game or becoming a better player or just looking to get more volume down on a night-to-night basis. I think you should be prioritizing playing some over on Yahoo, whether it's NHL, golf. I know people have liked playing golf over there. And then obviously NBA, big cash prizes. For NBA specifically, they're $15. You're going to pay about 75% in terms of management fee compared to what you would pay elsewhere. Need to get over for some Yahoo NHL? Yeah, you should. If your state allows it. I think most states allow Yahoo DFS. I know Florida for a while, there's a hold up there, and then Canada, but I know those two are, I think those are good to go. Maybe not Florida. But anyways, most of you can play over on Yahoo. So when you deposit, use promo code OSMO to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points. Free stuff for today. NBA rankings from Osmo himself, number one player in the world, and you get his NBA rankings. I think it's a 5-game slate, so maybe more people are playing NHL tonight, to be honest, because I think it's a half hour later lock. So maybe people are getting their NHL lineups. They'll go right back to NBA at 7 Eastern and then grind it out for the last half hour. I'm sure there will be late news, but I think it's a pretty abbreviated slate. So might see some more casual NHL players tonight, which we always like. NBA locks at 7:30 p.m. today. There you go. PGA. Let's see here. I believe the projections are free today. Let me go to these PGA DFS projections. Yes, these are free today. Thought I had the link up. Apologies, but there you go. That was the PGA homepage. Pretty cool stuff. Our graphics, social media, and just I don't know. Our website design team, I guess you'd call it, does a pretty good job. So, NHL projections. These are uploaded by me. This is a shared model between Alex and I. that we came up with, mostly Alex's input. So you're in good hands. I had a little bit of input into this model. I'll update these after the show. Usually last update is about an hour or so prior to lock because, that's the best time to do it because then all morning skates are long gone. Everything's updated that we need to be updated. So there you go. NHL DFS projections. Austin Matthews popping quite a bit. I wonder why that could be. Lastly, our giveaway we have going on. Not lastly, last but not least, I suppose. NBA giveaway. Same thing as always. Guess the player who scores the most fantasy points on tonight's slate. Pickings are slim. As you can see, a lot of people guessing Harden. Maybe you want to go somewhere else because if he wins, you're not even close to being there. So use a little bit of game theory that you would in DFS for all sports. I know NBA it's tougher, it's more projectable and all that, but I mean, if I was guessing here, I'd probably go elsewhere than Harden. Just scrolling through some of these guesses, but guess who you want. All you got to do is retweet, like, reply, then follow these two accounts. You're already seeing one of them right here. Follow this. If you can't find this tweet for whatever reason, or you're watching on delay and you don't have the chat open, you can just go to my Twitter. It should be one of the last things retweeted right up there. I think that covers the free stuff. Now, last night, Tom Patty 89 took it down. Single bullet in the $15. Took home $10K. That was the largest prize on any site last night. Backstrom, Ovi, 2.8 for Backstrom. Doesn't matter. He had Couturier, Voracek. Couturier, huge game. Spent a lot of time against Boston, won. And that was part of the reason why he took it. Well, I'm assuming it's a he. Why Tom Patty 89 took it down. Sandheim 3%, 28.8 DraftKings points. That's huge on a shorter slate. And then Carey Price shutout. D'Angelo in the utility spot. Of course, Artemi Panarin, 2-man with D'Angelo. Just the absolute nuts. Nut one-off in Panarin. Also, the nut cheap defenseman in Sandheim. Got it done for Tom Patty. Nice lineup, not max correlation, but nonetheless, took it down, I think, by a pretty good margin. Let me go back to this tournament. So 6-7 points, 8 points almost. That's pretty impressive on a 5-game slate where ownership is concentrated. Someone's going to get close to hitting the complete nuts, and he was as close as anyone. Was enough to win this $15 tournament that I don't like DraftKings running. I wish they would just stick it at a $10, but they always mess it up on Mondays, and we started to do it for Saturdays. I hope they don't keep going to that. It's a $10 today, but yeah, I wish we would get a $10 $20K to first. They'll probably do that over the NBA All-Star break and maybe the day before the NHL All-Star break, the last big slate. But I don't know. The 295 today, I think it's 25K to first, which is great. 25K. I wish they would switch it up every once in a while and get the 25K to the $10. But for whatever reason, they have not done that this season. Took down 100-man. If you had Price instead of Rich, you probably win the 444. Oh, that's tough. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to win tournaments regardless, no matter how many entries you're putting in. Got to the $5 single entry, won by 20 points. Wow. That's tough. That's really tough to do. All right, let's talk about these 11 games. 48 minutes, 47 minutes to get through this. Should be able to do it. Golden Knights, Sabres, 3.3 implied total for the Knights, 2.7 for the Sabres. Marc-Andre Fleury and Linus Ullmark are your goalies. Not really seeing a ton of news. Not seeing a ton of news anyways. And not really in this game. First of all, Buffalo side, 2.7 implied total, but at least you would think more often than not, if they score 3 or 4 goals here, you're probably getting some decent production out of Eichel, and so Eichel line is really my only target here. Jurgensen is $2,500 playing next to Eichel. He's stuck there for the most part last game. You would expect him to do that again, and it's a pretty low probability play as a stack, but I think I'm going to have more than the field on the Buffalo 1 stack. So steer clear if you've heard any of my Buffalo takes. I've gotten them wrong repeatedly this season. I don't even know. I can't remember a time where I've gotten them right. Certainly not enough to have big success in a tournament. They've been my kryptonite all season. I don't think Buffalo's really going to match just because of how steady Vegas is throughout their entire lineup with their forwards. And Buffalo, like, who would you match against, right? Like, Eichel against Carlson, Marceau, Smith. But then what? Then you leave Stevenson, Pacioretty, Stone to just dominate the rest of the lines. And Vegas has a good third line, too. It doesn't seem like a spot where I think they're going to hard match. Could be wrong. Yeah, the Knights. Man, the Knights have just had such a weird stretch of home games, especially. I don't know. Maybe they need to get on the road. Like, I don't know what's going on with this team. They're costing me a lot of money, though. So I'm running it back. Vegas did put Stevenson with Pacioretty and Stone, I think, either prior to last game or the game before. It looks like he's going to be there. He is a center, so you don't have the 3-winger issue on DK, which is helpful. They're getting virtually no ownership because of the prices of Pacioretty and Stone, and then nobody likes Stevenson. I'm not a Stevenson fanboy, but I'll be playing a good amount of Vegas 2, almost certainly going to be over wherever they end up at. Pacioretty has played like a $7,600 player, even better lately. He's been absurd. Stone's been better. And then you've got a little bit of salary relief, $3,900 for Stevenson centering 2 pretty talented wingers. Their numbers together are absurd. I can read them off if you would like. I'm going to do it anyways. In terms of expected goals per 60, this line, of any line that's played over 60 minutes on this slate together, they have the most expected goals for per 60, 3.7. Cliffy was talking about yesterday, I think he said 2.2 or 2.3 is average. This line's played 160 minutes together almost, and they're at 3.7, which is, I mean, it's just outrageous how good they've been at 5-on-5. So I don't know. I'll keep reciting those probably until I have no more money, but that is my preferred play on Vegas, and probably hopefully one of my biggest edges on the slate. I'm not exactly sure. I think we've been a little bit low on them in our ownership projections, so I might even bump them up manually and just so I'm not getting a ton of them. But I think I'm going to be pretty easily overweight, even if I get to 8-10%. Yeah, Nashville 3, Corsi. We'll get there. We'll get to Nashville 3. I don't know. I can't say that Nashville 3 is not for real. 244 minutes. Yeah, they're good. They're good. All right, defenseman here. I actually like Rasmus Dahlin a little bit, down to 4,300. You could probably go to Ristolainen as well. I prefer Dahlin. Or if you're punting, Pollute. I'm looking. A bunch of my lineups tonight have a need for $2,500 or $2,600 defenseman, and Pollute is going to be one of the guys that I mix in, very likely. On the other side, it's probably Theodore or nothing for the Golden Knights, but I'm more looking for the 5-on-5 spot with the second line, and so I don't think I'll get to a lot of Theodore. Next game, Devils, Maple Leafs, 2.7 implied total for the Devils, 3.9 for the Leafs. You might see it at over 4 elsewhere. Always try to mention these are Alex's totals that we come up with in the model. He comes up with his own game totals. And so we're going to get Leafs chalk here. I think it's fine chalk. I don't think it's bad chalk or anything. Yeah, the Devils play at a pretty slow pace. No Palmieri tonight is kind of the big news for Devils. He was scratched semi-late. It was either Friday or maybe last Thursday or Saturday. I can't remember, but they're not going to have him again. Does it really matter who the Leafs match? I don't think so. But just for the sake of being thorough, I guess, Tavares probably going to go up against Hischier, Zaka, and Jesper Bratt. The Tavares line has been really good at 5-on-5 as well. They're only at 80 minutes, so not an elite sample or anything like that, but they have been very good for what it's worth in the shutdown role they've been playing at home. I would expect them to roll over Hischier, Zaka, and Bratt more often than not. I think you can play the full stack pretty easily. I think you can obviously stack Toronto 1. Zach Hyman's getting a little bit expensive, $5,500, but that's probably going to keep the stack ownership down as a whole. I've also been mixing in power play stacks for today, just trying to figure out where I'm at on those. And yeah, I think Toronto's power play, if you're going to include them as a line, that's got to be a top 3 or 4 spot on the night pretty easily. You could argue it's the number 1 spot based on their applied total and just how nasty this top unit should be. You've also no Morgan Riley for the Leafs. That's going to probably be a downgrade for them defensively. I don't know if the Devils are going to be the team to take advantage of them. Tyson Barrie becomes the clear slam dunk defenseman for the Leafs. Leafs never get PPs because there's a league-wide conspiracy against them. Of course, he is a Leafs fan, so take that for what it's worth. But who knows? Maybe there is. Maybe Corsi might be going to this game tonight. He goes to quite a few Leafs games, so maybe he'll have to have a couple words with the referees. On the Devils side, it's probably Zajac, Coleman, Gusev. I'm a big fan of this line, but I don't think this is the night for them. Nothing about who they're going up against. It seems very good. Zajac, Coleman, and Gusev. I mean, they don't get time on the power play. Zajac and Coleman don't. I don't know why Coleman still doesn't. Coleman's been good. Yeah, I think Toronto rolls over them. Even if you don't think it's a great power play spot, it is a great 5-on-5 spot. So, like, even if you're worried about, maybe they only get 2 power plays. First of all, they could score on 1. But the 5-on-5 spot, I don't think it's even close between the top 6 between these two teams. And I even have some Toronto 3 stacks. I usually limit my third line exposure because sometimes these lines will grade out so well when they're this cheap and it's just a high total and all of that. I'll have some of Toronto 3, and by some I mean like 2 or 3%, which is about what I max for third lines on slates of this size. And people would probably argue that's fishy and just don't play third lines. I do play some third lines though. Justin Holl at 2,600 is another guy I'm punting with some. I just need someone in this price range. And without Riley, you could play him or Sandin. Those would probably be the 2 I'd be focusing on. There's a bunch of cheap Leafs defensemen. You got Tyson Barrie at 5,500, and then the rest of the guys are 2,800 and below. So maybe you just mix them around. I don't know if Hull's going to see more ice time. It's hard to project these guys. The guy that's just safe is Tyson Barrie. Who knows about the rest? And I don't know, maybe Cody Ceci. I don't even know. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with the Leafs defensemen? So I'm spreading around my punt exposure with Hull and Sandin. I'm getting a lot of Toronto, but I'm scared of Anderson. Anderson? What? Am I missing something there? Probably nothing for me on the Devils side. if you want to go with Vatanen or PK Subban, that's fine. That's your prerogative. I probably won't be getting to much of either of those guys. There's way better options for me. Kings, Lightning, 2.3 implied total for the Kings, 3.8 for the Lightning. Quick expected to go for the Kings. We'll know at 7:30 East or 6:30 Eastern. Vasilevsky for the Lightning. This looks very one-sided. Not many redeeming qualities about the Kings these days. Thought they might be decent for a while there. The first few weeks of the season, their expected goals numbers were way up. And I think they still have some decent underlying stats. That doesn't mean they're not going to get waxed, though, by Tampa. I've got almost nothing to go for on the Kings side as a 150 max player. Maybe you could talk yourself into LA1. The guy I have the most exposure of on the Kings is Sean Walker at 4.7%. And then, man, I don't even know if so if the slate started right now, I would have no Kings. No Kings. Yikes. I don't feel too bad about that either. Cirelli, Stamkos, Johnson, I think is probably going to see more time against Kopitar. I follow Toffoli. They go back and forth whether they're matching. It seems like maybe I just don't read the situation right. But sometimes it's Cirelli against opposing top competition. Other times it's the Point Kucherov line. Maybe they just don't care is what I should take from that. But Tampa power play, probably the best way to attack it if you are okay, of course it says Cirelli versus Kopitar. Nice. That's not a bad spot for Cirelli, Stamkos, Johnson. That line's been, I think that line has really sick numbers. Or no, it was the okay, so bit of news here was Point, Kucherov, Stamkos were together. Palat jumps back up on that line. Stamkos back down to Tampa's second line. Trying to pull up Tampa 2. I'm probably just missing them here on my sheet. Or maybe they don't have... Yeah, okay. I don't have them on here for whatever reason, but that is a good spot for them. I really like Stamkos at 7,200. Obviously, a guy you want to target maybe as a one-off, or if you're Tampa power play stacking, him and Kucherov and Point are the guys you would want to mix in. If you could, it's not too difficult. This is kind of the same situation as the Leafs game for me, in that you've got a one-sided affair, 2 even strength lines, and probably even 3 even strength lines that you can make a case for at the respective price points. Now, I don't know why Killorn is 4,900. I guess just because he's on the top power play. But the line as a whole, if you can get over the $4,900 price tag, the line as a whole on DraftKings is fairly cheap for a third line with a good total. So there are 3 lines you can stack up, at least make a case for. If you're going with a Colorado 1 or something like that, something really expensive, might want to consider Tampa's third line. The most exposure I have to a Tampa line is the Cirelli, Stamkos, Johnson line. Always feels fishy to me when I have more Tampa 1 than Tampa 2 when Stamkos is not on the first line, just because you get 2 guys in the top power play here. But man, I've just been lower on Kucherov than like everyone lately, like since the start of last season. It's worked out okay this season, but yeah, it's going to be a good matchup all around for Tampa. The total indicates that they're going to mop the floor with them. It's a variance-based sport, so nothing's for certain. But just to give you an idea of the difference in ownership, right now we have Matthews at double the expected ownership of Kucherov. Should that be the case? Probably not. So you're probably getting a better ownership edge playing Tampa power play stack or Tampa 1 compared to the Leafs, where you're just going to be competing with a lot more people if indeed that is the nuts. Palat, man, he's 4,300 playing with Point and Kucherov. He's all right. I wouldn't play him as a one-off. I don't really one-off anyways on these slates, but sure. Hedman 6,300. That's the preferred guy in this game. I have to manually bump him up to get any of him. For me, he's not on that level of. Still, he's not on the level of Burns, or Yossi. Certainly not Yossi, but like even guys like Werenski. I know it's a tough spot against Boston, but I think I prefer Werenski more. And then Shabbat, I think it's a pretty good spot for him. He's going to play like 40 minutes, and yeah. So Hedman oftentimes gets squeezed out for me. I'm going to try to force in some Tampa full power play stack with Point, Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman. But outside of that, I don't think I'm going to get to a ton of him. Sean Walker, 3,100, a guy that I'm playing tonight. I've been playing him quite a bit at 3,100. Secondary power play. He's got decent peripherals. He's playing around 20 minutes per game. 3,100, I'm okay playing him. And no one ever plays him anyways. Red Wings, Islanders, 2.3 implied total for the Wings, 3.2 for the Islanders. Jimmy Howard, Thomas Greiss are your goalies. This is one that I actually like a lot, and it's mostly the Islanders side, but I think there's at least some reason to be excited about. I don't know about excited, but some reason to consider playing Detroit 1. So super small total. If you can get over that, I more look at the makeup of the team, and this is why you have projections. It's because you allocate different shares of assists and goals to different players, and a lot of that for Detroit, a lot of this 2.3 implied total, relatively a lot, is allocated, in my opinion, to Detroit 1. So super small total, that usually just gets everybody off of it entirely. But I think it's actually going to be a decent matchup for them at 5-on-5 if you just look at the forwards. Now, the Islanders are a tough team, but Nelson, Lee, Eberle together, exciting line. They've been good offensively. They scored a couple times last night. I think Nelson and Eberle both scored. They're going to be good offensively, and I think they're going to match up together, which is really good. They're too cheap. Isles 1 is too cheap, in my opinion. Probably going to be one of my highest exposed lines on the night. We just talked yesterday, Cliffy and I, about how frustrating it is to play the Islanders, but I think this is the spot. This is the spot that I want to play them. Yeah, on Yahoo, they've been pretty bad defensively. I wouldn't expect them to be elite anyways, so I think that's kind of real. So yeah, maybe on Yahoo where there's plus minus, you might want to knock them down a bit. Ottawa's defense is fully healthy, if that means anything. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe Shabbat will only play like 31 minutes. Where's that? So yeah, they're going to go up against each other, at least my read. I'm playing a lot of Isles 1. It's probably fishy. And by Isles 1, it's the one on your screen. So Nelson, Lee, Eberle. Or Isles power play stack. This is Detroit we're talking about. They're terrible at 5-on-5. Even if I get the matchup wrong, okay, then you're going Nelson against the Filppula line or Nelson against Franz Nielsen. And, like, yeah, give me some of that as well. Detroit 1's been bad defensively. So has Islanders 1. So that's kind of where I'm hitching my wagon to tonight. Detroit looks really low owned. Maybe you get a Dylan Larkin game at pretty low ownership, or if you wanted to do like Larkin, Bertuzzi, and Zadina or something like that and save $1,100, that might be another way to attack it here. Defenseman, Nick Leddy is 4,400, not on the power play, so he's not going to really be on my teams. Devin Tays or Pulak, I think. Because if you're going with Barzell, Beauvillier, and like Lee, power play one stack, which I think you can do, then yeah, you're gonna get to Taze. But I want Pulock to be so much better, and he just hasn't been that great this season from a peripheral standpoint. Just he hasn't been great for DFS, and he's priced up like he's been a lot better than what he has, in my opinion. So I'm actually not getting to a lot of Islanders defensemen, and I should be getting to more than what I am right now, just because if I have interest in both of the top two lines and the power play, it seems foolish to not have any of their defensemen. Nothing like that's happened to me a bunch of times this year, where I like the spot, but maybe our defensemen don't project that well. You get the forwards right, but the defenseman, there's a 3-point guy who also gets the 5-shot block or 5-shot bonus, and maybe even gets the combo meal, and then you're just cooked. You're just dominated out of that stack. It's a lot like when in MLB it's like why do you stack 5 players? Well, because if you stack 4, even if you get the perfect 4, there's probably going to be a 5th one that is a viable player, or at least gets you closer to the lineup construction. That can be the nuts or whatever, but it's kind of like that, where if you get the 3 forwards right, or the 4 forwards if you want to do that, but you don't have the defenseman or any exposure to the defenseman, you're kind of cooked if one of these guys has a ceiling game, like D'Angelo the other night, for example. Freaking Tony D. Fire Blashill. Isles back-to-back after they got smoked. Yep. I'm really fishing it up here. Maybe they bounce back. Madison Bowie one-off. I don't know if that's ever been asked on this channel, but maybe if he was mid-salary. I think I donked a Madison Bowie goal. Maybe it was on the Sunday slate. I was like, why do I have 6% of this clown? And then he scored. So that's my Madison Bowie story. But I don't think that I need to play him tonight. No, he's not the worst player. No, don't get me wrong. He's just not. It's just like a Detroit defenseman that isn't on the top power play. Hronek is my guy. No shock. 4K for him. So if you're going with Dylan Larkin, I'm actually probably one-offing Hronek a little bit. He hasn't been as fire as lately. He was really good for a stretch there. He's gotten bailed out, getting just like multi-point games and just like donking assists here and there, but he's playing 23, 25 minutes. And he's on the top power play with the Detroit one stack that I kind of like, especially at their ownership. Hronek with Larkin, Burt, and Zadina? Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, the Islanders just got smoked, so narrative both ways. The Islanders stink, and now they're going to lose to Detroit, have a bad 24-hour stretch, or on the other side, I'm more so on the Islanders bounce back, and this Nelson line does some work. Minnesota, Pittsburgh, 2.5 implied total for the Wild, 3.4 for the Penguins. Dubnyk and Tristan Jarry are your goalies. Familiar name returning here, Sidney Crosby, up back in his rightful spot on the top line. Penguins did an admirable job without him. Malkin, Rust, and Gensel for a while there just went nuclear. They got Hornquist back in the meantime as well. So this is a scarier lineup. Minnesota's always a tough team when we're talking about line matching, just because who knows which line the opposing team considers the top line, whether it's the Koivu, Parise, Fiala line or Stalzuk or Zuccarello. I'd probably be more likely to say that Minnesota 2, the second line you see, the Koivu line, is probably what most teams think is the top line, but who knows? It doesn't really matter here. I don't see a lot of advantages that I would want to attack for Minnesota. I'm more interested in playing the Koivu line if I'm playing Minnesota, but Pittsburgh's just been tough. Penn's PP, you could go to that. I'm kind of interested in playing Crosby, McCann, and Simone as a full stack. I'm obviously interested in playing Malkin, Rust, and Cahoon, and that's the one that I have the most of, the Malkin line. Uh, both cheap. Yeah, maybe you knock some ice time down from Malkin and Rust and make some room for Crosby here, but I still think these two top lines are going to play a lot. And you're getting the Crosby line for under 15K. Yes, it's not Gensel, but McCann's not the worst player. And Crosby's just so good at 5-on-5 that I feel like whatever the ownership is on Simone and McCann, I haven't looked at them specifically. I'm kind of talking myself through it as I go, but yeah, I mean, that's just too low. It seems like a perfectly fine spot. And if you get like the hard match against the Stahl-Zucker-Zuccarello line, I think that is really nice because they're going to put Crosby against whoever they think is opposing top competition, you would think. Even though it is his first game back, they've been patient with him. Like we thought he was returning like 2 or 3 games ago. So I would imagine they just treat it like a normal game. And if you do get the matchup against the Stahl line, that seems pretty tasty. That's a line I like to pick on. Man, why are these Minnesota defensemen priced this high? I know I wasn't getting to them, but good God. Why? Man, whatever. I'm not playing them. Outside of one Suter share, it looks like. I got one Suter. And then the guy I'm punting with, I wish Soucy was cheaper. Soucy's actually like a decent player. Greg Patterin is a guy that I'm getting to like way more of than I should be. So I'm trying to spread out my Greg Patterin exposure because, yeah, he's not a good player. You're looking for the 3 block bonus, and maybe he gets like 18 minutes. And even for 2,500, like you still need something out of him. You do, and he's pretty likely to get me a 0. So I'm going to back off my Pattern exposure. But he was one of the guys I was looking to punt with. I mentioned Hole for Toronto, or is it Hull, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. There's a bunch of cheap Toronto guys, Sandin as well. There's a few punt options, so don't go all in on Patterin just because he's min salary or whatever. Good advice there by me. Don't play all in Greg Patterin. Let's hang at 6,100. If people were talking about power play stacking in chat, yeah, that is obviously the guy you go to. This kind of stinks for Pittsburgh because now everything is split up. So the only line you get 2 power play 1 guys on is the Malkin line. So if you are doing a power play stack, yes, try to get in Letang. Outside of that, though, Letang's a good play. I don't think he's an elite one-off. At least he's not for me tonight. Let's go to the next game. Boston, Columbus, 2.5 implied total for the Bruins, 2.9. Or no, this can't be right. I think it's 2.9 for Boston, 2.5 for Columbus. I must have mixed these up. There's no way Columbus is this big of a favorite. So I'll go fix that afterwards. But I don't. So Boston 1 is Boston 1. You can play them whenever you want. This is not a spot that I'm going to be playing a lot of them. Tons of good spots on the slate for way cheaper. I know value is a little bit overrated, but it's not it's still, you still have to fill out a salary cap with under 50K. And yeah, they're priced down a little bit, but Columbus is a pretty good defensive team. At least they have been this season. Do you like Vegas stacks? Yeah, I like Vegas too. The Pacioretty Stone line. Columbus actually comes up as decent value for us. It's going to come down a little bit once I fix these totals, but I'm probably going to play some of each of the top 2 lines for the Blue Jackets. I think Jenner, Nyquist, Foligno, we'll see most of the time against Boston 1. And so, yeah, that's not great. Their price looks appealing, but if you're into matching, it looks brutal. It would only be an MME play for me. It would not be something I'm targeting in like 3 max or anything like that. Like don't don't get fooled by this Columbus value. Same thing with the second line. They're dirt cheap, but who knows who's going to go off for Columbus. So what I usually do for them is just split exposure and like limit them. I limit them in Cruncher if they're coming up. And then Werenski at 5,400. Just a guy, like defensemen are way easier to predict. Maybe a spot where he could flirt with the double bonus. Seems like he's a pretty good candidate to get in on the scoring if, in fact, Columbus does do some scoring. He's just been so safe. Hasn't really killed you too often. And 5,400 is a good price for him. So, yeah, this game is pretty ugly. Outside of just MME Flyers, or if you really love Boston 1, sure, go for it. I have a hard time getting there, and I love Boston 1. So, where are they getting owned? It's always interesting on these bad slates. Man, they're not going to be owned either. So, maybe take advantage if you want. Am I really going to fade a low-owned Boston 1 on a big slate? I probably will. I think I'm going to. Who's the best line? Stack. I like Winnipeg a lot. Winnipeg's a good one. Let's go to the next game. Blackhawks, Senators, 3.2 implied total for the Hawks, 3.3 for the Senators. Robin Lehner and Marcus Hogberg are goalies. Once again, we've got the Blackhawks just being the absolute worst with their lines. Carpenter, Nylander, Kane. I can't even keep track of what they've been doing. You've got Doc with Kampf and DeBrincat on his third line. Taves, Kubalik, and Kajula. Gross. I mean, all around, it's just disgusting. So, what I'm doing tonight is just limiting my exposure, like really low on Blackhawks forward lines. If they come up in a couple power play stacks, that would be the preferred way to stack them. But like, I hate when I'm using Fantasy Cruncher and I see a power play stack that's Taves, Kane, and Doc, or Taves, Kane, even Taves, Kane, DeBrincat, when they're not starting on the same line. I mean, unless you think that line's actually going to get some run at 5-on-5, you're solely relying on the power play, and they're not even that cheap. Like, DeBrincat should not be 6,100 right now with not playing with Kane or Taves. Taves shouldn't be 6,300 not playing with Kane or DeBrincat. So the only one, like, Taves one off, sure, but it's the Hawks are a nightmare to try to stack right now with these lines. So if you're doing 3-2-1s, maybe Taves, Kubalik, like I said, Kane one off, or maybe DeBrincat, Doc, or power play stack. They're the worst right now. They're the worst. The Senators are not the worst, I don't think. I think the Senators are going to score here, or at least they're going to get quality chances on Lehner. Lehner's been awesome this year, so he could have another one of those games. I enjoy what Ottawa is doing on their top line here. So they've got Tkachuk back with Peugeot and Connor Brown. They look kind of expensive with Connor Brown flirting with 5K, Peugeot 5,500, and then Tkachuk almost 7K. Not high enough. They're not high enough owned for me. I think this is a really good spot, especially if I think the Blackhawks lines are so bad. Yeah, just wish Ottawa wasn't so expensive. Right, I mean, we all wish they were cheaper. Then you could just jam in a 15K line for, a 3.3 total. But then everybody would be jamming them in. So, yeah, you're getting an ownership discount, though, even if you're not getting a pricing discount. So, yeah, figure out a way to pop them in. I'm certainly going to. If you don't want to play Connor Brown, which I get it, Batherson at 2,800 is a nice way to save $1,900, make that stack a little bit cheaper. That's or Duclair if you want to do that, but now you're really spending up. So I prefer just dropping down to Batherson and maybe playing Shabbat at 5,700. I really love this top line. I think they don't get a lot of respect, and they should, especially against bad team in Chicago. One of the worst road teams in the NHL, maybe outside of the Rangers. Defensively, I know that they can be exciting. They'll probably be able to score some here. I just never know where it's coming. I feel like I know where it's coming if Ottawa scores here. And that would be whoever is tied to Tkachuk. Shabbat at 57. I like Tom Shabbat tonight. We've tempered our expectations on Shabbat this season. I'm not going crazy on him or anything, but I think I'm gonna be in the 10 to 15% range on him, more than likely. Mostly with Ottawa 1. I actually, he's a good one-off. The peripherals haven't been amazing this season like they were at times last year. He's a fine one-off. You don't need to make a group with him. But he is he's a guy I would rather play with Ottawa 1. Leonard, number 1 goalie on the slate, and he's cheap. Fair enough. I think Leonard is I understand that while also liking Ottawa. He's been really good. He's going to see a lot of volume. There's almost no doubt about that. He's gotten pulled a couple times this year, I think. But if you avoid that, even if he lets up 4 goals, he's probably going to be okay. Mike Riley at 2,800, another guy I'm punting with. Getting really punty on the defenseman, and he's another guy. It's not great, but it is what it is. Secondary power play time. I'll take anything I can get at 2,800. And then on the Hawks side, Keith is my favorite guy, more as a one-off. I know that's not the highest upside one-off, but that's my guy. Leonard's not the best play. Ottawa is good at home. I agree with that. I agree with Ottawa being good at home. I hope Ottawa smashes them. I think the Hawks are terrible. I'm like a Blackhawks fan, but man, they're so bad. They're so bad. All right, let's go to the next game. Wait, I'm in I'll answer that after the show, Ilya, if you're watching in Premium Slack. There was a question about how many lines would you recommend playing if you're entering 15. Or how many lines would you recommend playing if you're entering 15 lineups? It just depends on your play style. So I'll answer that more in depth once we get off the show. I'll be able to give a better answer. Canucks, Jets, 3 implied total for the Canucks, 3.5 for the Jets. Jacob Markstrom, Connor Hellebuck. Do we have 3 more games after this? I think we do. I'll pick up the pace. This one, pretty simple for me. Kopp on the second line with Wheeler and Ehlers. We've seen that for a couple games now. I'm fine with that. Roslovic, not like he was making a difference. Now you're getting $600 cheaper. It's not I don't see an elite 5-on-5 matchup here for the Jets. I think we see Scheifele, Connor, Laine going up against Pettersson, Miller, and Besser. Winnipeg 1 is really bad defensively. We say it all the time, but when they're at home, it feels like the road team gets underowned quite a bit. You're not getting a big discount on Pettersson, Besser, and Miller, but Winnipeg does have a terrible penalty kill. They don't take a lot of penalties though, and that's the problem. So if you fall on the right side of variance and Winnipeg takes 4 penalties tonight, or even 3, maybe you get a little bit extra, because I think the Besser, Miller, Pettersson line looks like a really good matchup. They got a really good matchup here, I think. And so I'm fine paying $19K for them, especially when you factor in that they're not really getting owned at all. So I love Vancouver too. Certainly not complaining about getting a low owned Vancouver too here. And then Winnipeg's top 6 looks pretty good as well. Horvat got crazy home road splits. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not your guy for that. But Winnipeg won all 3 guys in the top power play. They look underpriced. It just looks so enticing with the big total here. compared to them, like Boston won or Colorado won. Higher total than Colorado won. Cheaper, like just better power play spot, all that stuff. And so I get why they're being very heavily owned. They're one of my highest owned lines. Just because of the 5-on-5 matchup, I might taper them back a little bit. Man, they're not even that owned. I wonder if they go up in our next ownership projection update. Yeah, they're gonna come up in our next ownership. I'm almost certain of it. I can't see them being below like 10% tonight. Seems if they are, if they're still low in the next projection update, ownership projection update, maybe I'll just play a bunch of them. But I think they're going to be one of the more popular teams behind Toronto and Tampa. I think they're right in that tier with them. So they're not great defensively, but they are good offensively at 5-on-5. Good power play spot here. Huge total. So there's not really many interesting things for me to say about them, I don't think. Pionk at 4,400, I can take it or leave it with him. I'm not a huge fan of him as a one-off. It's more of a power play thing. And same thing with Hughes. If you're playing Vancouver and you just hope this game goes nuts, $4,600 for Hughes. If they get a bunch of power play opportunities and convert a couple of them, there's a good chance that he's in on the fun. So it would be a correlation play. Hughes is not a guy I target. He's run really hot with power play assists this season. So let's move it on to the next game, Dallas, Colorado. 2.5 implied total for the Stars. 2.9 for the Avs. Ben Bishop and Philip Grubauer are goalies. Some conflicting reports about what the lines are actually going to be for Dallas. I'm trying to... I don't think we have them updated, but let me scroll back and see if I can find these. Because, Two Beats just reported, two different lines. So, it doesn't matter to me that much anyways. One was saying that Radulov was going to be on the third line, and I can't... Oh, this guy. This guy was going to be on the top line. The other was saying the inverse of that. And so... yeah, you're going to have to keep an eye on that if you're playing Dallas. I'm not really playing much Dallas tonight. Especially with that, I don't know this kid. Maybe he's a good prospect. Maybe I'm just a fish, and I should be playing, Sagan, Radulov, and Ben. I don't like the spot to begin with. Now with this uncertainty, and even the Beats said, we're going to have to wait for line confirmation at warm-up. Okay. Well, if I don't want to play the spot, really anyways... and I'm not sure what the lines are going to be, and it's the last game of the night, or one of the last games of the night. I suppose you could swap, but yeah, all that makes it kind of tough for me to want to play Dallas here. They're also going to go up against McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen. That's not the end of the world in that they're not a great defensive line. I don't think that's one you have to avoid, but I'd rather avoid it on an 11-game slate on home ice. They're going to have favorable spots. So it's probably Colorado 1 or nothing. They don't come up as a great value or anything just because they're really expensive. But they are Colorado 1. You don't get Rantanen on the top power play, at least not right now. That could go back to normal at any time. So yeah, you're either for me, it's either you're taking a shot on Colorado 1, or you're not really playing much in this game. You could I shouldn't say you're not playing much. The secondary lines are, I suppose, cheap. The Hintz line has pretty good numbers, but again, in Colorado, not a very favorable spot, I don't think. So I'm probably out on most of this game. Don't want to leave out Colorado 1. I also don't think I'm above where the field is on them. So yeah, this one I hope stays pretty quiet. I hope it's like a playoff game and more tight checking. But man, McKinnon is maybe the worst guy to fade. And watching this game. So if you got something cooking late and it's like you see all these Colorado 1 stacks trying to chase you down on the leaderboard. That is like the worst feeling ever, especially if you're tuning in watching the game. He just looks like he's going to score every time he touches the puck. So, yeah, not a fun guy to fade, but I don't think I'm going to have a lot of him, a lot of Colorado 1. Nashville, Edmonton, Pekka Rinne, Mike Smith, 3.3 implied total for the Preds, 3.1 for the Oilers. I see a bunch of you in here right now. Thank you guys for watching and spending some time with us and supporting the channel. If you have not already, hit the notification bell. That will let you know when we go live, and then not just the NHL show, but all the other shows, NBA, NFL when we have them, PGA, all that good stuff. And then if you could give us a like, that would be very helpful as well. Does help us continue to do this content for free that some of you seem to enjoy. Rinne, Smith, McDavid with Neal and Archibald. We've seen Archibald, this experiment up on the top line. I have no idea why they're even doing this. He's just going to get kicked off at some point. Maybe they found something with Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, and Yamamoto. They haven't been terrible. They haven't been very good either. Duchesne, Forsberg, and Granlund is my favorite play here. But I actually thought I was going to get a ton of them. They have really good numbers. So I'm ready to pounce on them on the road here. It is a high total for them, but the ownership is not out of whack. And so I'm good with jumping on a line that's been really good, that is pretty favorably priced. Maybe the road spot, maybe they get lost in the shuffle a little bit. Right now, it looks like they are getting a little bit lost in the shuffle. So I like Nashville 2 the best. You get top power play time with all the Nashville 1 guys. So that's why people are getting to them more, because they are cheaper. But I'll take the line with the better 5-on-5 spot. I'd still like to avoid McDavid at 5-on-5. I shouldn't say that. I'd rather avoid McDavid at 5-on-5 and go up against Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, Yamamoto. But a line with this good of numbers, they can handle anyone, I think. So Nashville 2 it is for me. Of course it is Yossi night. I'm sure you guys are, you guys are already asking me in chat. Yeah, of course. Of course I'm playing Yossi. Yossi's my highest owned defenseman. This guy's just nails. He's just a stud. I think he should be the highest owned defenseman on a lot of slates, and I definitely think he should be the highest owned here, and he's not right now. So there you go. Clefbaum on the Oilers side, if you're going to the Oilers. I hate playing Edmonton without playing McDavid, but like I said, this line's been okay, so I'm limiting them. I am really limiting Edmonton too, but it's the power play stack for Edmonton, which is where I think you're making your money if they go off. So do your normal thing. If you want to play power play stacks only, make a rule where you can only play Draisaitl and Nugent-Hopkins with McDavid, or Neal with McDavid, or whatever. It's just not often that the Oilers score a lot of goals and McDavid's not involved for a multi-point game. Let's go to the next game and then get out of here. I'll show you the free content, and it will be done. Sharks, Coyotes, 2.5 implied total for the Sharks, 2.9 for the Coyotes. Aaron Dell expected to go against confirmed Aiden Hill. Was very surprised when I was running crunches how much San Jose won I was getting, and it's just the price. I wish they were priced up a little bit. It's not a great 5-on-5 spot, if we're being honest. I think if the Coyotes were smart, they would just go strength on strength and go Dvorak, Hall, and Garland against Hurdle, Kane, and LeBanc, and literally never let the Soderberg line go up against Hurdle, Kane, and LeBanc. I don't know if they'll do that. I have seen in recent games the step-on lines have been getting extended time against opposing top competition. I mean, yeah, anytime you can put Krause and Kessel against opposing top lines, you just have to do it, I suppose. So I hope they do that, because I like San Jose 1. Their ownership is a little high, a little higher than I would like, but not high enough for me to get off of them. In fact, I'm still over the field on them, about 2 times, actually. Dvorak, Garland, and Hall. I'm in on them as well. Even if they get matched up against Turtle, Kane, and LeBanc, I think there's going to be chances to go around. They have good numbers. Maybe this is the Taylor Hall huge game that he has with Arizona. They're also getting a little bit of ownership, but it's mostly just coming from Hall. And then Garland and Dvorak are lagging behind. The Sharks aren't actually terrible. They're not actually terrible defensively. I don't know if that's intentional, if they're just trying to slow the pace down because they suck or what. But I feel like I always should be playing more against them. Yeah, but Arizona 1 is where I am trying to attack them. Ekman Larson, if you want to pop him in, that's fine. Demers, maybe another punt option that's going to see 20 minutes. And then Chychrun is actually the guy I usually prefer, but he's not on the top power play. He's 4,300. It's probably going to be a pass for the most part on Chychrun. Brent Burns, I'm kind of back in on Burns. His ownership has started to drop. I've noticed in tournaments his ownership projection has dropped. It's not an optimal spot, but $6K for Burns is just too cheap. He's just too cheap, and he's not getting owned. So perfect storm. And he goes with the top with Hurdle and LeBanc on that power play. Who knows when these Sharks power plays are going to get blown up anyways. You just never really know with them. Okay, free stuff, and then we'll get out of here. NHL projections, free today. Go try those out, NBA projections. You know what to do with those if you're playing. Later lock today, so maybe you'll have some more time to late swap after NHL lock or react to news. PGA projections, those are also going to be free. They should be updated shortly. NBA giveaway we've got going on. If you want to, just go to my Twitter. You can see the retweet there. Guess the player scores the most points on tonight's fantasy NBA slate. Super simple. Maybe get different with your guess would be my only advice. Shout out to Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. We always appreciate them sponsoring us. And if you want to go help them out, use promo code AWESEMO to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. If you have any questions about memberships, if you want to become premium, you want to know what the Express membership is about, or see any promo codes going on, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. My handle is above me if you want, or you want to troll me or tell me how bad I am. That's fine too. Always up for a good chuckle. 1% Hattie. All right, God. Boom, you're making me do this. All right, let me see what we got here. He's not going to be 1%, but I'll take Brock Besser. I think he's going to be too low owned. I think Vancouver is going to be too low owned, that line. All right. Yeah, feel free to drop in your guys' 1% hat tricks if you want. Goalies, it looks like right now I'm playing the most of Freddie Anderson. They usually coincide with the teams I'm stacking the most of. Grice, Vasilevsky, Dell, Hellebuck on the other side. I mean, yeah, I like Vancouver, but I think Hellebuck's going to get peppered a lot of the time here. So if you could drop us a like on the way out, that would be very much appreciated. Tomorrow, I think it's a 2-game slate. It'll just be me again. Hopefully you guys tolerated me without Nolan or Cliffy to keep me under wraps. Again, if you have any questions, my DMs on Twitter are open, so you can hit me up. I'll try to help you out as best I can. Good luck tonight, guys, and I will be back tomorrow.